Hello and welcome to Patched. I'm your host Paul James, and today I'm joined by Jay Parnas.
The one and only.
The one and only. So we are this month for this week's
It is a month.
topic of the month, talking about gaming crossovers, and it's largely due to the fact that there's a few that have been sprouting in the last few months. They're not the first cases ever, but there's been a few recently that kind of prompted the discussion. So
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed and Final Fantasy 15 have done a crossover. Final Fantasy 15 has also crossed over with Forza in a really weird way. Forza Horizon 3 specifically. And there was another one that I've just now gone blank on. But there's a whole bunch of them that are popping up left, right and centre at the moment.
Final Fantasy whoring itself around.
Yeah, it is a little bit.
Getting the village bicycle, so to speak.
Everyone's had a ride.
Yeah, getting it done.
So there's a few more kind of floating around, and we know that there's been things in the past, say your Street Fighter cross Tekkens and Smash Brothers and a whole bunch of different bits and pieces.
So we're talking about basically like franchise
crossovers.
sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. The company rumpy pumpy.
Yeah.
So to speak.
So I mean, hell, even things like Mario Cross Rabbids from this month is another good example. I did forget that I still had that sitting upright. But there's been a fair few of them lately, so it's kind of prompted the discussion that we're going to have today about, firstly, maybe where we see these things heading and continuing, but then also maybe some potential crossovers that we'd personally like to see. So what do you think of the current trend?
I think it's great. I think it's a good sign of big corporations actually appreciating that fan service sells shit.
Yeah.
Like, not trying to bleed people for money with content, but trying to encourage fans to spend based on fan service.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, a great one is Akuma in Tekken. Like, I mean, I know you mentioned Street Fighter Cross Tekken, but that was supposed to go both ways.
Yeah.
And the remnants of that is that Akuma is now in Tekken 7, and just recently at EVO, one of the characters from King of Fighters is going to be in Tekken.
Okay.
Yeah, Geese Howard. I know that's not really your wheelhouse.
No, it's not my thing, but at the same time, I have noticed that there's been lots of these sorts, specifically in the fighting genre.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of that sort of stuff.
Especially, I mean, look, Tekken's been the big proponent of it, at least lately. But yeah, I mean, you've had cross, like, for almost decades, I would say. You've had franchises crossover. That's where it's been. I mean, there's literally a type of game called a cross game in like you think like Marvel cross, Street Fighter, X-Men cross Street Fighter.
And for the most part,
Marvel vs. Capcom,
that sort of stuff has happened only in the fighting genre, but now it seems to be these days, and it's not just this year. Hell, it's not even just Final Fantasy 15. 13 did it. There was some Mass Effect stuff in there as well, so that's two different companies coming together, except that Final Fantasy 13 is shit.
Shots fired.
By most people.
Yeah,
so.
well.
So what
you're saying is you're late to the party.
It's not the first time that this sort of thing has happened, but there's been a bit of a spate of it recently, and it's left us kind of thinking about where it could kind of go from here. So,
and you know what? I think it might be like part, or at least a big part of it, I see coming from the Kickstarter indie space, because I think a lot of the Kickstarters are supporting other Kickstarters, and as a result, they're getting their characters in other people's games.
Yeah,
Shovel Knight's been making the rounds quite a bit, almost a bit too much, I would say. But look, I love
popped up in Ukulele and all that sort of stuff,
and and all the others as well. Like
we spoke about in this.
No More Heroes.
Yeah. In this week's month's patch notes. Yeah.
So, and look, I think that's probably a big part of it, of seeing that's...
But in the indie space, I also kind of excuse it a little bit, because they're all trying to help lift one another up.
Well, I mean, when you say excuse it, I mean, it's not bad when it's in the AAA. In fact, I would argue it's better.
Where you say that Shovel Knight's probably gotten around a bit much.
Just because
kind of give them a bit of a pass when it's an indie developer, because they're all trying to help one another out.
When I'm
seeing an indie game called Battle Royale that's coming, which looks very, very Smash Brothers-y, but it has I've forgotten the name of the main character, the little wandering traveller cloaked person from Hyperlight Drifter is going to be in it.
The Drifter, I think.
Was it just the Drifter?
I think so.
Like playable fighter in that game, and it's really, really cool, I might add.
Yeah. But look, I look, when I say maybe a little bit too much, I don't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I just mean that Shovel Knight hasn't been around long enough to generate nostalgia yet.
Yeah.
That's all. Like, if you were to think of...
still pumping out DLC for the first game.
Exactly.
See that patch notes again.
Yeah. So I think that... I think that that's where a part of that's coming from, seeing that like people are receptive of that stuff, being like, yo, I backed that game is shit hot, and now that character's in this other thing, maybe I'll get interested in that other thing. I think from a marketing standpoint, I think it's encouraging the bigger companies to be like, oh well,
maybe we can do it too.
Yeah, we've got these, beloved characters. I don't see why not. And I was mentioning to you,
I think in any of those cases, provided there's give and take, for all that, there's a little bit going on with Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed. The Final Fantasy is going to have a whole bunch of Assassin's Creed stuff. Well, if Assassin's Creed has a little bit of Final Fantasy stuff, you can kind of give and take both ways.
I don't even need give and take. I just need give. That's all.
No, as in, I'm not saying take from the consumers, but I mean, what incentive is?
It doesn't have to go both ways. Is what I'm saying. It could just be like companies being like, "We'll lend you our characters. We'll lend you our likenesses." Like, that's fine. It doesn't need to be, "We'll lend you our likeness so long as you lend us yours." I think it's. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh no, it certainly doesn't have to be. Like, that'd be really nice if we're in that sort of world. But I
don't need to see Ezio in the next Final Fantasy game, is what I'm saying. But I think it's cool that they've got some Final Fantasy stuff in the new Assassin's Creed, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be a straight up trade. And I think one of the greatest examples, I think, that has been, and again, technically it's in the fighting space, and I was mentioning it to you before, Smash Brothers. Or Super Smash Brothers series, and your first reaction was, well, yeah, that's a big crossover of fucking all Nintendo shit, but I'm talking about the third party stuff,
the non-Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, fuck you, the Snake from Metal Gear Solid, the Ryu from Street Fighter, the Cloud from Final Fantasy, the Bayonetta.
And there's even little things they throw in. They're not playable characters, but like Rayman trophies and stuff.
They've done a lot. Sonic the Hedgehog, I guess, is another sort of big one. Mega Man.
Well, I mean, we've had the Mario and Sonic crossover for a while with their dodgy Olympics games, but
Mega Man. Then
good games.
I'll see you and raise you, Mega Man.
Yeah.
So
Pac-Man was in it.
Pac-Man is another one. Yes, you're right. I think stuff like that is that's I think really the really encouraging stuff for me, where they really lean hard into it. Like with Snake, there's a whole sort of like codec stuff that you can do that talks about all the other characters, and they got the voice actor of Otacon and shit like that to actually voice all this little side shit that you may not even come across in the game. So I think it's really cool when they lean into stuff like when it really is fan service and not just like shitty marketing. So yeah, I think it's a really encouraging trend. I don't know, what's your opinion on it?
Oh yeah, look, I'm totally okay. I kind of what I was saying before, expect that there's probably always going to be a little bit of give and take, because you would hope that in those scenarios they're trying to look after one another.
Oh, sure.
So not necessarily, when I say give and take, I don't necessarily mean because there's a financial thing to it, but I mean that, well, look, if we're going to pop all this Assassin's Creed sort of stuff, and I'm using this as the Assassin's Creed and Final Fantasy as an example. If we're going to pop all this Assassin's Creed stuff into Final Fantasy 15, it's obviously going to help promote the fact that Assassin's Creed is coming out. Well, let's pop a little bit in there so we can kind of expose our respective audiences to something different, and we can kind of help one another out. That way you don't necessarily there's maybe no financial component whatsoever. It's just a simple
shared marketing. Yeah. And I agree.
And Final Fantasy is probably the one that's going to benefit the most in this case, because the game's already out and it's probably the majority of its sales have already occurred.
Yeah.
But if there's stuff that's in Assassin's Creed and people are like, maybe I should try this game out. Well, it's just there. They can get it at a decent price. It's more accessible than the other way around.
I guess I would also argue that like the people who like your Final Fantasy games are like feverish, so they might be picking up Assassin's Creed just to see that stuff. Yeah. So you're right. It does go both ways. When I say I just want gear, I want them to be. I don't want them to because there was an old trend in fighting games back in the day where it was like, yeah, cool, we'll have your character in our game, but they are the shittiest character on the roster. Like, they will get pummeled by everyone.
Yeah, I don't want that sort of stuff.
And that's a trend that has since expired. Like, I mean, Akuma's totally viable and really cool in Tekken, but stuff like that, I think. And I mean, and this is less of a crossover, but like Sub-Zero in Injustice, stuff like that. I mean, it's the same company, so they can very easily do it. But yeah, I think blurring those lines is really cool and interesting. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to see more of it, because it really, all it does is just appeal to fans.
Where do you see this whole trend headed? Do you expect that we might see the Activisions of the world and the EAs of the world? I mean, I suppose EA's dabbled in it a little bit. Case in point, the Mass Effect and Final Fantasy 13 thing. But
I don't know if does Activision and EA have character.
We'll never have a day where Nathan Drake appears on an Xbox console or anything like that. But
probably not. No.
But within the third party space, we could.
Does Activision or EA have any memorable characters?
Activision has Crash.
I mean, technically Activision has Blizzard, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, look, you might see...
They've got Crash.
Crash, do they also have Spyro?
Yeah, they've got Spyro. Hopefully that becomes
do those characters,
remaster as well.
Do they still... I mean, yeah, Crash just came out with a new game, but do they hold the kind of weight that we're looking at here?
I think your mascots like that could Crash more than Spyro, I think.
Yeah, but, I'll agree with you.
I think Crash could...
Is there, does EA have anyone? I can't think of...
you probably could have leveraged your Commander Shepards and those sorts of things in the past, but now that they've kind of moved on...
Oof.
With you couldn't do anything with Andromeda, and I think they just want to...
They're not doing anything with Andromeda, so no, you're right.
Want to nip Mass Effect in the bud completely at the moment. So
I mean,
beyond that, you might see Plants vs. Zombies pop into different things. They kind of do that with their own internal stuff anyway. But I could see the pea shooter from Plants vs. Zombies pop up in other games.
I think it's really... I think this only really does apply to mascot stuff.
Yeah. Well, it works when it's an iconic character, yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the rest of the time you're getting character skins.
Do you know who I think has the biggest opportunity but will not partake of this? And it's really sad. Konami.
Yeah.
Because they have a list of very, very unique and very nameable characters. I mean, you look at the entire Castlevania series, there's a whole bunch of characters there, from your Belmonts to your Alucards to your Sora, I think is the character from the Aria, or the Aria of Sorrow and Dawn of Sorrow, whatever games.
Yeah, and then you've got Metal Gear, and you could use...
Metal Gears, and you've got your...
Pac-Man could still pop into different... Wait, he's...
Namco.
That's Namco, damn it.
Yeah. Namco's on board. Namco is ready to go.
They are fantastic.
Yeah. Capcom, I guess, they're kind of already there.
And they've got plenty of marketable characters too. So.
They do.
And as they kind of seem to be gradually digging themselves out of a bit of a hole at the moment. No, they're putting out good titles at the moment. I mean, Street Fighter initially copped its clip.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens when it comes to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. But
I don't know if it's going to do it.
But what they did with Resident Evil 7 was fantastic.
Yes.
Monster Hunter is going from strength to strength, and it seems to be
the new one looks quite...
World looks good. Stories is coming to the DS. It's out now by the time you're watching this.
It's Double X?
Yeah.
That's on its way.
They're leveraging some of their other IP in kind of smart ways. And for all that Street Fighter wasn't super well received initially, that tone seems to have changed now that they've kind of fixed a few bits. But this is me standing on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
I'm not immersed.
I mean, they're in their second season of
positive bits and pieces.
They're in their second season of characters, and they've done balance changes and stuff like that.
I feel like they've got market, and even regardless of what's happening with Street Fighter 5, you could throw Ryu or Chun-Li or any of those sort of characters, just drop them into things, and
they do,
and that has an impact.
Yeah, they do. That's the thing. They do that already.
Ryu was in Smash.
Yeah, that's right. As was Mega Man.
Yeah. So they've got stuff they can do, and I do. Yeah, I do believe Capcom's kind of turning it, and even with what they're looking to do with the Mega Man Legacy collections and those sorts of things, maybe you'll be in luck. Maybe they'll do the X collection next.
Oh, look, maybe.
Now that they've done all the core Mega Man games.
Yeah, sure, but just put it on a platform that I play.
It's on PlayStation.
Yeah, well,
you get your PlayStation.
I would probably
and Xbox.
It'd probably be best on the Switch.
Oh yeah, for sure.
To be fair,
yeah.
But that's why I'm eventually going to get one of the new 2DSs, because primarily I really want
fair
Mega Man X 1, 2, and 3 on the go.
Yeah, they're doing pretty cool things in that space at the moment, so hopefully they can kind of continue that. Are there any crossovers that you'd like to see specifically? And ignore checks and balances, budgets,
I'd like to see Travis Touchdown and stuff. I'd love to see some, some grasshopper characters like the Killer.
Well, I mean, it's kind of working
Killer
the other
7
way
guys.
with these indies that are jumping into No More Heroes, but yeah, it's not so much happening the other way yet.
Yes, but I mean, look, I'd like to see some of those characters get in there.
He could do well in a fighting game.
He would do very well in a fighting game. So I would same with the Platinum stuff.
Yep.
I'd like to see a lot of the Platinum characters. Like
Bayonetta's already been jumping out there, but
but I mean, I'm talking
Nintendo
in like
bankrolled Bayonetta 2, so
yeah. I mean, I'm talking
probably
like
the give and take. Whereas, all right, but Bayonetta's in Smash.
if you took Grasshopper and Platinum and got them to make a collaborative fighting game,
I want to see the Scalebound Dragon. Oh,
that dude. I mean, it's still a character they own. Like
yeah, it's not happening.
it could. I mean, if they made a same with Vanquish, that character would be cool to see jumping across and some stuff. Obviously, I'd like to see
2K could do some cool things.
Yeah, I guess.
They already kind of have to an extent. Like we saw the Big Daddy rock up in PlayStation All Stars and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
They could do a bit with Borderlands. I could see Handsome Jack crashing a game of some sort.
Yeah, I could see that too. Yeah, you're right. Or Brick.
Or Claptrap.
Yeah,
just because.
Yeah.
More of a cameo.
I could see that, but I'd probably
more of a cameo than a meaningful role. They've got characters they could leverage there.
It's true. I mean, you've got Duke Nukem jumping into whatever the fuck.
Bulletstorm.
Yeah, fucking everything. Like he's everywhere. He's a plague. He's like herpes.
Yeah.
He rocks up once or twice a year.
We haven't really addressed Bethesda at all.
Well, Bethesda they stretch their own stuff across their own games. I don't know if
I'm just trying to think, because obviously your Fallouts and your Elder Scrolls, you create your own character, so that probably doesn't really work.
Well, I mean, like they had Easter eggs in each other. Like there's an Elder Scrolls, like a couple of Skyrim Easter eggs in Doom.
Yeah.
And there's some, I think there's some Fallout stuff in there as well with the little bobble heads as well. Like they do. I just don't know if they'd play ball with anyone else. Like they barely want to play ball with anyone.
Yeah, true.
At all. Yeah, I don't know. Like, but yeah, you're right. Like I think other than Doom Guy, they don't really have. And I guess Quake, they chucked the Wolfenstein. They chucked BJ into Quake, so they're doing some stuff. It's just I doubt they would play ball with anyone else.
Could you see Microsoft doing anything?
Yes, absolutely. I could like with Phil Spencer at the helm.
Oh, now, yeah, obviously.
Rareware, I think they've got a whole host of characters like Banjo. You could see going places.
Conker, they tried to do it anyway.
Conker, they could.
With,
sure.
Project Spark. Now, I don't know that he's big. Like he's not going to claw in big numbers, especially if they don't have a game to go around it. But
but you could see him starting.
I could really see them doing something with Sea of Thieves.
I hope they don't. I don't want them to do that. I don't think that's necessary. I just think that
cameo characters.
No, mud is the water. I don't think I don't think a Banjo Kazooie.
Maybe steer clear of Sea of Thieves just because this is Rare trying to get back on their own feet again.
Absolutely. Not to
see Chief rocking up anywhere or
Master Chief.
And I say Chief going somewhere because they are so bullish about their own story that no one would come into Halo. You couldn't make a little cameo.
No,
it doesn't work anyway. But
no, I mean you're not going to find a jigsaw piece in.
No,
the Halo storyline.
Yeah,
I think that based on how Microsoft and Nintendo have been playing ball with their online of playing with players from the other framework, I think you could definitely see some Microsoft characters meeting up with some Nintendo characters. Like, I'm not saying that you're going to see Chief in Smash.
No,
you might see some. You may see some Halo stuff in like a Xenogear.
Oh, Xenoblade.
Xenoblade, sorry.
I doubt it, but yeah.
But
like, I get what you follow. I get what you mean.
That type of stuff. Like, I'm not saying like you could potentially have like a instead of the Shulk blade, you could have the energy sword from Halo.
Yeah.
You could see little
Easter eggs sort of
stuff.
stuff.
I don't think you would see something big. I could see Banjo and Smash Brothers, the next Smash Brothers. That I could see. I mean, because if you think of who they've got already,
Phil was asked about that way back, and he said we're open to it.
Yeah.
So
that'd
be nice.
I think it would just be a matter of, and they could very easily
that there would be a financial component to it.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't. Yeah.
But then I think if there was a Banjo game on the way, then there would be less of a financial. It'd be like, yo, remember these guys?
Yeah, bring them back, and at the same time, it's kind of supporting Microsoft.
That ukulele thing wasn't the best. Check out this real thing that we've got over here. I mean, look, Microsoft doesn't have a huge amount. We're not going to see Blinks the Time Sweeper anytime soon.
God help us.
Voodoo Vince, I don't think we'll see ever again. I think that was mostly just to prove that they could do the Xbox backwards compatibility.
Well, that was a proper remaster anyway.
Yeah, but you know, it was also still using the engine and everything. So I
feel like the majority of the future of this stuff is in the hands of third parties and indies.
I actually think
much the first parties.
I actually think a lot of it is in the hands of Japan. I don't think there's anything stateside that is even worth looking into. I think all the characters that we associate like that are from an era where Japan was on top. A lot of the mascot stuff.
Yeah, it's Japanese.
Like your Mega Mans, your Castlevanias, your Marios, your Sonics.
I mean, the West has proven though that iconic characters can come out of there.
It's true.
Chief, Marcus Phoenix,
true.
Nathan Drake,
but
Lara Croft.
But they're so serious because they're from the West. Like you're not going to see Nathan Drake swinging from like a COD tank. Like,
no, true.
You're not, and regardless of what platform they're on, you're not. Like you just won't because they're just so stoically themselves. You know what I mean? Like, whereas Mario has a gun. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's anything goes from here.
Yeah. And you could very easily see like Sonic and Mega Man have already kind of collabed in comics, so it's there's all sorts of shit that could happen, and Mega Man's in fighting games, and I don't know. I think it's like primarily rests in the hands of Japan. I mean, in fact, looking at your poster there, you got Link in Soul Calibur.
Yeah, and that's an older one, but it is an example of exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I don't know. Look, I think that to get to the place where that happens, firstly we need more all ages mascots that you can have nostalgia with.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do it, that's probably what I would recommend first.
Gun in hand suddenly instantly causes some problems, or weapon in hand kind of causes.
I think action movie. Like guy, I think like realism is where it stops.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Mega Man is hand for like gun hand, like you know what I mean. Like,
you don't take it seriously.
Yeah, it's it's just a matter of, I think, finding the pairings, and I think the all ages characters are where it works.
Yeah.
Like I would love to see Chrono Trigger. The thing is, there's like lots of these.
There's lots of these really weird things that happen. Like the Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed one came about because both teams kind of admired what the other was doing, and they happened to meet up at, I think it was PSX last year. Like they were there doing their own separate things. They met at like a bar, and they were talking about, I love what you're doing with this. I love what you're doing with this, and all of a sudden, it's only a small thing, but like a little collaboration was formed, and the product is what's happening with Assassin's Creed Origins and Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and I guess that's where
some of those things kind of just dynamically happen as well.
Yeah, I think that's where third parties kind of like you get that.
It's easier.
Yeah, like I mean, you could see a Jack and Daxter.
Yeah.
Moving across to something else. I mean, you already had like the PlayStation All Stars thing, but I think you could probably see those sorts of characters. Like you could see a Parappa jumping into something else. You could see those sorts of characters.
If those companies see it as a viable thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But we'll see.
I think because games there are a lot of games these days that are focusing on staying as long-term services, that it doesn't really necessarily apply all that well, because you've got games where like either they're long-term services where it has a large multiplayer component, or they're RPGs where you create your character. It kind of doesn't work for those sorts of games. But we'll
see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you could potentially see the Witcher character in something else.
The Witcher character. All right.
What's his name?
Geralt.
Gwent.
Gwent.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Mr. Gwent.
Mr. Gwent. So
Esquire.
on that note, that wraps up another episode of Patch. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to visit the
You
website.
know I'm fucking with you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good.
Player2.net.au for all the awesome written content. There'll be tons of reviews and bits and pieces coming out because we're now entering the busiest time of the year. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Sports
to the channel.
games are out.
Yeah,
It's happening.
Which means
it's all on.
all downhill from here.
Yeah, that's it. Let the clusterfuck begin.
Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel where you can catch up with weekly episodes of Patch, the Video Games Club, the Insider, and Player 2 Plays, and a whole bunch more. As well as catch up with a whole bunch of trailers that drop. Paul James P2 on Twitter, Player 2 AU on Twitter for the site. Jay doesn't do Twitter. But outside of that, that's another week in the books. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. That's another month actually in the books. Tune in next week though for the Video Games Club. We'll see you next time.
Mega Man X. Mega Man X.